A new day begins. Welcome back, everyone. Today, has our young man come up with any ideas for the architecture of his dream house? And what role will Hung play in this journey of building a home? Let's continue following this emotional story and see what surprises await them ahead. The sky had just brightened, and morning dew still clung to the roadside grass. She carefully carried little Han, her tiny 4-year-old daughter, out of the house. The road to school was nearly 10 kilometers long, but there was no other choice since the nearest village school had long since closed. Han rubbed her sleepy eyes, resting her head gently on her mother's shoulder, her small arms clinging tightly around her neck as if afraid of losing her. She walked slowly, step by step, softly singing lullabies to her child with a voice trembling from the cold and exhaustion. A light breeze blew through, slipping past her thin clothing, threading through her hair, and reaching her heavily pregnant belly. She had never found the journey of taking her child to school so difficult, but whenever she looked into her daughter's innocent eyes, she found another reason to keep going. After dropping Han off at school, she turned back to her work. Her legs were already aching, but she had to quickly pick up goods in time to sell them that morning. Today, she could only manage to carry a small amount of melons. Her growing belly made it harder and harder to walk or lift anything. Even so, she forced a smile, gently greeting customers with a soft voice and sincere eyes. Maybe luck was on her side. In just a short while, the melons were all sold out. She quickly gathered the small change and stuffed it into her coat pocket. Her heart lightened as if a great burden had been lifted. Back home, she didn't rest. Instead, she went straight to the garden to pick vegetables, remove wilted leaves, and rebuild the rows of soil that had been washed away by the rain the day before. She wanted the evening meal to have something fresh for her daughter. When the work was done, she sat down on the old stone bench beneath the aging starfruit tree, breathing heavily, her eyes gazing into the distance. The sunlight had softened, no longer harsh. A gentle breeze sent starfruit leaves fluttering down onto the yard. She leaned her head against the back of the bench, letting her mind drift into a stream of scattered thoughts. She thought about the house that had yet to be built, the unborn child growing inside her, the uncertain future, and then about her relationship with Hung. Suddenly, a soft footstep echoed from the front gate. She startled and turned around. He was standing there, saying nothing, just smiling. In his hand was a basket full of fruits: jackfruit, longan, mangoes, even watermelon, all the things she and little Han loved dearly. Her heart skipped a beat, unsure if it was from joy or confusion. "When did you get here?" she asked awkwardly. "While you were busy in the garden," he replied gently. "I watched you for quite a while." They sat down next to each other in the shade of the starfruit tree. The golden rays of the afternoon sun poured down onto the mottled brick yard, threading through the leaves like gold, lining the worn edges of a hard-lived life. She poured tea and offered him a slice of melon she had tasted earlier that morning. He complimented it with a playful glint in his eye. "It's sweet, really sweet." She laughed, her first real laugh in many hard days. Then they began talking about everything, about little Han, about names for the soon-to-be-born baby, and even about the small house they were planning to build. He listened closely, sometimes staying quiet for a long while, his eyes filled with deep, thoughtful calm. In that moment, she felt an unexpected lightness in her heart. No longer did she feel like she had to carry everything alone. Tomorrow, she might still have to wake up early, walk 10 kilometers, carry her child and her heavy belly. But at least for now, she knew she wasn't alone. There was someone quietly watching over her, still bringing a touch of sweetness amidst all the hardship of life. She turned to look at him. Her gaze said nothing, yet held within it countless unspoken words. The evening breeze stirred, lifting a few fallen starfruit leaves into the air, light as the hope just beginning to stir in her heart. As their laughter still lingered from old memories, he suddenly turned to her, his voice gentle but sincere. "How has work been lately? Has it been very hard on you?" She gave a faint smile, unable to hide the exhaustion in her eyes. "Still the same. Morning trips to the market, afternoons in the garden taking care of Han and the little one on the way. I just hope the heavens have some mercy, and each day passes peacefully. That's enough for me." He fell silent for a while, then, as if he had been considering it for a long time, he spoke. "I think you should learn to ride a motorbike. I'll get you one, something light and easy to handle. With it, you can take Han to school more easily. No more walking all that way, especially now that the pregnancy is further along." She quickly shook her head, her eyes showing a mix of shyness and hesitation. "Thank you, but I don't want to accept anything. I'm afraid people will think I'm taking advantage. And besides, I'm not used to riding and the roads are busy now and my hands shake. I've gotten used to walking, it's really okay." He smiled, not disappointed, but rather even more admiring of her. "If that's how you feel, then just promise me one thing. From now on, whenever you go to the market or take Han to school, just call me. I'll come pick you both up. No need to feel embarrassed. Don't say no anymore." His words were like a soft thread tied gently around her heart, not binding, not demanding, just pure sincerity. She looked at him, eyes glistening red, but her smile was radiant in a way he hadn't seen in a long time. In that moment, the burdens in her heart felt as though they had suddenly lifted. After so many days of carrying everything alone, always forcing herself to be strong, now someone was willingly sharing the weight. Through the simplest gestures, a ride, a caring question, a quiet presence. They continued talking, but now her voice was lighter, her eyes brighter. They told each other stories about little Han's mischief, childhood dreams that never came true, and ideas for the new house, a place where she and her 2 children could finally have a true haven of peace. Amid the fading cicada calls of late summer and the golden sunlight pouring over the yard, they laughed together, as if all the hardships outside that gate had momentarily disappeared. As afternoon turned to evening, the 2 of them went together to pick Han up from school. The little girl came running from afar, calling out loudly, "Mommy!" But when she saw him, she squealed with joy. "Uncle's here again. Uncle, I got a 10 on my test today." He knelt down, gently ruffled her hair, and smiled warmly. "Well done. So how about a little ride to celebrate?" She grinned from ear to ear and turned to her mother for permission. Her mother nodded, and so the 3 of them, a man, a woman, and a child, walked off together in the golden glow of the evening like a real family. He kindly opened the car door, helped the mother and daughter in first, then gently closed it behind them. Carefully, as if afraid even the breeze might brush against them, the car slowly rolled forward toward a new patch of land. Once just a wild, grassy hill, now leveled and ready to welcome the foundation of a new home. On the way, their voices filled the air with cheerful conversation. The evening settled softly like a breath, casting a gentle golden light over the newly leveled land. She and he stood together on that ground, looking around in all directions, at the place soon to become a new home for her and the two children. The air was peaceful, with only the cheerful calls of birds perched high in the trees, and the rustling sound of wind weaving through the distant foliage. He pointed toward the left side, where the land sloped slightly downward. I think this spot would be perfect for a small livestock area. It's lower, set apart from the main house and close to the water source. Easy for us to manage later. We could raise chickens, maybe even a few pigs. What do you think? She nodded, her hand unconsciously brushing over her pregnant belly as she imagined the children playing among green vegetable beds and the sound of roosters crowing at dawn. Then she turned and pointed to the far end of the land, where the sun shone brightest. And that area I'd like to make into a vegetable garden. There's enough sunlight and the soil looks good. Later we'll have fresh greens for the kids, clean, homegrown, and it'll save us trips to the market. He smiled. The way he looked at her now wasn't just filled with care, but also with admiration. She, a small, gentle woman with a resilient spirit, always thinking of the future for her children, even while the present was still full of hardship. "And what about the house?" he asked, turning back to her. She stayed quiet for a few seconds, then spoke slowly. "I just want a small wooden house, something simple. A warm kitchen, a window that lets the breeze in, a space where the children can study and sleep in peace. That's all I need." He nodded. Then, taking a few steps forward, his warm voice gently rose. "I have an idea. Around this area, there are a few old wooden houses for sale. Pre-built homes, the wood still in good condition. We'd just need to take them apart, bring the pieces here, and reassemble. It'd be both cost-effective and fast." She shook her head, a slight frown on her brow. "I know you mean well, but I don't want to accept anything too big from you. I'm afraid of feeling like I owe you." He turned to look at her, his eyes filled with quiet understanding. No blame, no pressure, just a gentle nod. And then he said, "I know what you're thinking. That's why I didn't offer to build you a fancy new house. I knew you wouldn't accept it. But if we can't find a house that feels right, then..." He turned his gaze toward the distant forest, where the treetops still whispered in the fading afternoon light. "Then I'll go with you into the forest. We'll pick the trees, cut the wood, bring it back here. We'll build it every beam, every plank, every roof tile together. If we build it with our own hands, then it's not charity. It's something we create side by side." She stood still, her heart tightening not from sentimentality alone, but from the overwhelming feeling that, for the first time in so many years, someone saw her as an equal, not pitying her, not giving handouts, but walking alongside her, sharing the weight. She turned to him, her voice choked with emotion, yet steady. "Thank you. Thank you for being here, for helping me and the kids, for choosing such a beautiful piece of land for us." He looked at her without saying a word, but his eyes, deep, calm, fully present, spoke for him. They stood there together, saying nothing more. Then they both rose, looking off into the distance. The twilight had painted the western sky a fiery red, casting golden light on her hair and a quiet glow across his composed face. They didn't speak again, just stood silently, side by side, imagining a future not yet here, but already so near. A flock of birds suddenly soared overhead, gently slicing through the crimson sky. The evening breeze swept through her blouse, causing the baby in her belly to stir. She placed a hand gently on her bump, smiling softly. The child within her, it was as if they, too, could feel the peace beginning to take root in their mother's heart. Soon they would return to town to cook a simple dinner, maybe just boiled vegetables and fried eggs, but filled with laughter. She would tell little Han about the garden, about the chicken coop, about the small room with white curtains. And maybe one day not too far from now, she would no longer say to her daughter, "Come with Mommy," but instead, "Let's go home." And he quietly walking beside her was not like blinding sunlight, but rather a small, steady flame, warm, enduring, enough to keep an entire winter at bay. No more days of walking alone, no more silent dinners filled only with sighs. Now, there would be the warmth in the eyes of the one beside her, the pure laughter of a child, and the kind of promise that isn't spoken aloud but felt deep in the soul. She looked at him, a man who never promised her the world, yet was willing to gather every branch, lift every tool, to help her build a quiet, gentle corner in the chaos of life. Not a life of riches, just a roof to shield them from the sun and rain, and someone willing to walk beside her. That was enough for a life of happiness. And so, beneath the stillness of the evening sky, standing on ground that still smelled of fresh earth, the three of them, without needing to say a word, smiled together. Because they knew a home is not built from bricks and tiles, but molded from love.
Người đàn ông luôn âm thầm quan tâm đến cô và bé Han hôm nay cũng đã cùng cô trở lại mảnh đất nhỏ mà họ đã có ý định xây dựng ngôi nhà cho Tiểu Ca. Không phải là một chuyến đi ngẫu nhiên mà là một bước đầu tiên trong hành trình. Anh hỗ trợ cô để xây dựng một ngôi nhà mới hoàn thiện hơn. Mảnh đất ấy nằm ép dưới chân đồi giờ cũng đã được san phẳng dưới ánh chiều tà, phủ lên từng góc của cây cối, bờ cỏ. Cô và Hùng đứng trên mảnh đất còn thơm mùi đất mới, nhìn quanh ánh mắt đầy ắp niềm tin. Không cần lời hứa hẹn xa vời, chỉ cần hiện diện và chạm với ánh mắt đó, cô đã cảm thấy mình không còn đơn độc. Họ cùng nhau bàn bạc chỗ nào làm vườn rau, nơi nào là gian bếp, nơi nào xây dựng ngôi nhà khang trang bằng gỗ cho cô. Bé Han chơi đùa trên mảnh đất đó. Hùng cùng cô hướng về một nơi xa, cùng nhau nghĩ rằng sẽ có những điều tốt đẹp đến với cuộc sống của cô. Anh luôn hỗ trợ cô trong mọi việc, cùng cô trải qua bao nhiêu khó khăn để giờ đây cô có thể có một cuộc sống nhẹ nhàng hơn. Cô lắng nghe những lời Hùng nói, mỉm cười, trong lòng nhẹ nhàng và đầy cảm kích cũng như lòng biết ơn đối với anh.